felt inspired to make a video. I think I've spoken about this before, but it's always worthwhile to review this question. This is something that Dennis Prager has suggested, as well as Rabbi Telushkin have both suggested this idea. And my good friend Rabbi Asher Meza is very famous for, he is a close devotee of Prager. Asher is. He's also, he's kind of, Rabbi Meza said, Dennis Prager is my rabbi. He said that before, even though he's not from anymore, whatever. I don't know, he has Bible commentaries that he listened to on MP3 or something, I don't know, something like that. I'm not that impressed by Dennis Prager, although I like some of the videos from coming out PragerU. Most of them, actually, I haven't seen one I didn't like, to be honest. But both Telushkin and Prager have promoted the following idea, that a major contributor toward anti-Semitism is that Jews do not proselytize. Now it's funny because I've heard people say just the opposite. When Asher Meza suggested that Jews should proselytize, and this was going on in Richmond, and some people contacted us saying this is going to cause anti-Semitism. I don't understand why it would cause anti-Semitism. But the truth of the matter is probably it's just the opposite. Meaning a major contributor to anti-Semitism is the insular nature of Jews. And it's not talking about the well-known insular communities, the Hasidim, who incidentally, it's in general a lot easier to convert in a Hasidic community than it is in almost any other Orthodox community. And per capita, there is a rather high percentage, there's a higher percentage, I would say, of Gerim, Hasidic communities, than there is a percentage of Balei Tshuva in the Hasidic communities. You see more Balei Tshuva will go to modern Orthodox, will go to Chabad, which they're also Hasidic, but in a different way. Their culture is very different than Borough Park and Williamsburg and Monroe and Muncie and these places. So, most of the Balei Tshuva you'll find go to modern Orthodox or go to Yeshivish or to Chabad. But there are more Gerim by the modern Orthodox than there are Gerim by the Hasidim. But there are more Gerim than there are Balei Tshuva by the Hasidim, and there are more Balei Tshuva than there are Gerim by the modern Orthodox. And there are very few Gerim by the Midrashim. It's probably, there's not much interest, it seems, by Gerim to join the Litvisher communities. Every now and then, and even those who said to me, he said, I'm convinced of all the theologies of the world, Judaism makes the most sense, but they have one major problem, is that they do not go out and spread the word, and share what they have to the world. And I said, well, I have a good friend of mine who does believe in that and is trying to change it, and I'm somewhat convinced by what he has to say. A guy with a beard and face with a Bernie Sanders bumper sticker on the main driver's license. Never. If Bernie Sanders was in charge, then they can cut off his beard and face. Anyway, so the feeling was that there's something wrong with the Jews. If they have an answer to the problem, why aren't they sharing it? I mean, the thing is, nowadays we see, for example, most of the mainline churches, the Catholic Church, the mainline Protestants, are not actively engaged in proselytizing people the way they used to be. They're more involved in social justice issues, the way that liberal Jews are as well. There's a lot of similarity between the mainline churches and the Jewish left. But again, why aren't we sharing our message to the world? So some people will suggest, like Chabad suggests, we should share the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. They say the Rambam says you have to force the whole world to accept the 7 laws of Noah, and so therefore that's our purpose in the world. The issue with it is a few issues with that. One is that's talking about in the time when we have Malchus Yisrael, when we have Yad Yisrael Tekifa, when we have power to do so. We currently live in a pluralistic society, as we have throughout history. There was no time in history, or very few times in history, when we were able to do something like that. Certainly not in the time, most of the time of Chazal. I mean, if you learn Masechtas of Avodah Zarah, you see that Chazal were well aware that they lived in a pluralistic society, and for the most part that we as Jews were persecuted. And so the reason why Jews did not proselytize is not because they were afraid it's going to cause anti-Semitism, but because anti-Semitism prevented them from doing so. If they would have done so, they would have got killed. Still, there was never this movement on a large scale, except for a few times in history, particularly in Roman times, when there was this big, God-fearers movement, essentially a Noahide movement, that did exist at one point in history, but for the most part, Jews who were sharing their message were sharing that you could become a Ger Tzedek, because there was no Noahide community, and there was really no need for a Noahide community. Why, if you believe in Torah, why wouldn't you convert? Why would you choose essentially to be a second-class citizen? Why would you choose to be like a dhimmi, basically? That's what the Ger Toshav is essentially what, how in Islam you have dhimmitude. That's the Ger Toshav. And why I mean, Muslims don't go around telling people, oh, you know what, you should become a dhimmi. No, they say you should become a Muslim. They're like, all right, if you don't want to become a Muslim, you could be a dhimmi, but they don't go around telling people, oh, ideally you should be a dhimmi. Now nowadays we don't have a din of ger toshav, so I'm not saying that Noahide, who creates their own Noahide churches and congregation, we won't call it church, whatever it is, somewhere in Texas or something like that, that's not a dhimmi, because they're in charge of their own societies. It's kind of weird. It's not that normal, although we do support these people. But I think we should make it clear that it's much better for such communities just to become Jewish, and that remaining a non-Jew is still, it's not ideal. It's not, what it's supposed to be. But it's a choice that you have. But we should be much more welcoming of people who believe in Torah, who want to convert. And the reason why people don't do it, it's mostly racism. A lot of it has to do with Zionism. They don't have so many non-Jews outside of the Holy Land, even though most Gerim, especially modern Orthodox Gerim, wind up becoming Zionists. So wouldn't you want more Zionists? It's like Usher Mason. He said he was at some Shabbos dinner somewhere in Israel, and he spoke up and he said, well, I have a solution to peace in the Middle East. Why don't we get all of the Arabs to convert to Judaism, and then there'll be no more fight? And they're like, no, we don't want that. Well, why not? Then it'll make peace. Wouldn't it be better if Arafat and Abbas and all these people were good from Jews who loved Klal Yisrael, who loved Torah? Some people say, well, it's better they should become Christians. So you're basically saying, well, then Christianity is better than Judaism. But, meaning, why not just introduce them to Judaism? Instead you throw these table scraps of the 7 laws. It makes people feel inferior. I mean, psychologically, it's like saying, you should read some of these anti-Semitic websites. What they say, even though it's wrong, it's not what we mean, but it's the impression that's given with this Noahide movement. It's like saying that, this is our way of enslaving the rest of the world through this Noahide movement. And they're wrong for saying that, but by not offering full conversion to anybody who's interested in it, we're kind of making this statement. We're kind of putting people into this sort of like a box to say, we're Jews and you're not Jews. Christians don't do that. Christians say, we want everyone to be Christian. Ideally, that's the Great Commission of Christianity. Muslims say we want everyone to be Muslim. We tolerate other people who don't make the choice to follow us, but ideally we want everyone to join our religion. So why wouldn't Jews want the same thing? And we have to explain why not, and really there's no reason why not. There's no reason whatsoever if we can just explain to people, well, if you know what you're getting into, and this is what you really want, and you become educated that this is what you're looking for in your life, we welcome you warmly. That's what the halacha says. The Shulchan Aruch is very, very clear that somebody who is sincere and wants to convert and is sincere, we should strongly encourage them to convert. We shouldn't go and tell them, oh, you'll be better off. And this is what I used to think when I was a kid. I used to think, look, you have 7 laws of Noah. I even told people that after they converted, how stupid I was. You have 7 laws of Noah, you're a perfect tzaddik. What are you doing? Why would you give up being a perfect tzaddik, and now you have more obligations and they're so difficult to keep, and why would you do this? And it's not true. That's not how Judaism views it. That's not how halacha views it. There's no such halacha to say that you're supposed to tell someone it's better for you to keep Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach than it is for you to convert. It never says that anywhere in Shulchan Aruch, the Rambam, and Shas. All it says is a person has to know that he's not obligated to do this, and it's his own choice. But if out of his own free will he comes to the conclusion that this is what's right for him or her, we are supposed to encourage them. That's what it says openly in codes of Jewish law. Every code of Jewish law says that we're supposed to encourage sincere converts. So what are we doing? Why aren't we encouraging them? I don't know. I mean, I'm doing it, and I know a lot of people who are doing it, and the thing is, even if someone is pretty sincere and it's not, most non-Jews are going to be better than most Jews at being Jews. It's true, because most Jews are pretty lousy Jews. So we don't go and tell non-religious Jews you shouldn't have children. If anything, it would be much better, if we were more welcoming of converts, and that's it, and then you're Jewish, and that's what it's all about. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what the halacha says. The only reason why we didn't do it for a long time is because it was dangerous. But now we live in a free society where we can do these things. Why are we still holding on to situation? And it's so ironic of how the Zionists are always like, to the Haredim, you're living in a gullus mentality. You're living in a gullus mentality. That's the way they talk. A galut mentality, gullus mentality, whatever it is they say. And but really, this is a gullus mentality. This is for not sharing our faith. That's the worst gullus mentality. I mean, yeah, in the old days we had no choice. We had to live like that. But nowadays, when we have freedom, we have religious freedom, we should be sharing. Again, we make it clear you're not obligated to do it. You're not going to go to hell if you don't become a Jew. But if you want to, you're welcome to. This is the parameters. This is what. It's not. It's not that easy, but it's also not that hard. And that's it. All right. Well, God bless you. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And let's hope that by being more open, and welcoming, and friendly. I mean, just today I had to deal with an organization that does kiruv, and I asked them if they could help send some literature and things, and they specifically went out of their way to say, well, how many people in your institution are Jewish mothers and things? The thing is, some of these people with Jewish mothers, some of them with frum parents, are not interested in Yiddishkeit, and people would be good gerim if it was just a little bit easier. All right, maybe in an institution there's reasons why not to, whatever. But, I mean, now they built a mikveh in Otisville. It should be there should be possibility to make gerim. All right, God bless you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be well. Take care. It's not going to happen because Chabad runs Otisville, but that's what it should be. That now there's a mikveh there should be permission. Just like, if you can convert to Islam or to Christianity in prison, why can't you convert to Judaism? People are going to say, oh, well, we don't want those people. Well, why not? Maybe it's going to turn their life around. Maybe it's going to change the whole world. People don't think. All right. Well, God bless you. Please like, share, and subscribe, and be well.